The lower city. F32 district. Above the central square, a massive display screen flickered endlessly, its power too weak to hold steady. The digits froze at 23:59. The square was packed with people, every face turned upward, waiting for the next tick of time. Ning Fan stood among them, outwardly calm. But the fists clenched tight at his sides betrayed the storm inside. Every year on January 1st, the upper city selected one person from each district of the lower city, the finest of their kind, to ascend. For the people of the lower city, it was the highest honor imaginable and the only chance to defy fate. Legends spoke of the upper city: warm sunlight, clear rivers, fresh air. Even the dogs of the upper city were said to eat clean, healthy food. Many scoffed at such tales. How could dogs live better than humans of the lower city? Finally, the screen flickered once more. A name appeared. Sun Wenhui. Ning Fan's fist loosened. His eyes dimmed. The silence shattered into chaos. Damn it! Who the hell is Sun Wenhui? Why him? Beside him, a chubby boy about his age shoved his shoulder, scowling. Big Fan, why isn't it you? Why not me? Heh. I'd like to know that too. Ning Fan's gaze remained fixed on the screen. A month ago he had scored perfect marks in all 9 trials. It should have been impossible for anyone to surpass him. Even Ning Fan himself had believed. This year the chosen one could only be him. Yet that glaring name mocked his arrogance, flashing again and again. Big Fan, I found out. A bespectacled youth squeezed through the crowd, wiping sweat from his brow, his voice brimming with indignation. Word is, Sun Wenhui has 1/32 of upper city blood. When the name appeared, Ning Fan's expression hadn't changed. But hearing that this was the reason for his rejection, he laughed. A laugh tinged with helplessness and a trace of release. You okay, Big Fan? The chubby boy asked, worried he'd snapped. I'm fine. Ning Fan shrugged. We've no blood ties to the upper city. Competing with them was never fair. No shame in losing. Are those upper city bastards brain dead? Passing over a 9-fold prodigy like you, just to pick some 1/32 mutt. The bespectacled boy fumed on his behalf. They knew how hard Ning Fan had fought all his life. Yet all his effort was undone by a sliver of bloodline. Had it been them, they'd have cursed the heavens. Don't worry, Big Fan. If not this year, then next. We're only 18 times on our side. The chubby boy tried to comfort him. I refuse to believe another half-breed will show up next year to challenge you. Your strength speaks for itself. No. Ning Fan smiled faintly. I won't take the exam next year. Both boys froze. My mother can't wait another year. His voice grew distant. I'll become a wanderer. On the way home, Ning Fan's smile had vanished. Every alley buzzed with talk of the selection. Sun Wenhui's name was the day's hottest topic in F32 district. The chatter stabbed at his ears. At home, he went to his mother's bedside. She lay unconscious still. In the lower city, even breathing was lethal. The air was laced with a toxin called miasma. Prolonged exposure turned the human body into a ticking bomb, ready to collapse at any moment. His mother's body had already collapsed. Ning Fan had joined the selection for one reason. Those chosen received the upper city's miracle medicine, distributed free of charge. The antidote to miasma. Mother, I'm sorry. He clasped her dry, frail hand. I wasn't chosen. Mother, the upper city seems to favor their own blood, even if it's only 1/32. I can't help but feel bitter. Out of all F32, I alone passed every trial with full marks. Yet I was cast aside. I'll become a wanderer. It's the only way to earn enough money to buy you the medicine. I know, being a wanderer means venturing into the wilds. It's dangerous. Truth is, I'm afraid I won't return. If I die out there, what will you do? But if there's even a chance to save you, I'll gamble everything. Mother, I still want you to pat my head and tell me I'm a good son. His eyes burned red as he whispered to her, speaking until dawn's first light spilled through the window. At last he rubbed his eyes, stood and picked up the only gift she had ever given him in childhood. A shabby sword, blackened and crude like a fire poker, cheap in every way. "Mother, I'm leaving." Though he knew she would not answer, he still whispered goodbye. "Wait for me." Just as he was about to step out, he noticed a scrap of paper peeking from beneath her bed. Curious, he pulled it free. Could it be a letter she had written while conscious? The title made him pause. Bloodline Test Report. Ning Fan frowned. He didn't recall ever taking such a test. Yet his name was written clearly. Subject: Ning Fan. Result: not of upper city blood. He smiled bitterly. Of course he wasn't. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been rejected. But as he turned the paper over, he found a handwritten note scrawled on the back. Not of lower city blood either. Beneath it, a large red question mark. Ning Fan stared at it in shock. Not upper city blood, no surprise. But not lower city blood either. Then what am I? Carrying a heavy doubt in his heart, Ning Fan pushed open the door. "Big Fan. You're really going?" At the entrance, the chubby boy and the bespectacled youth were already waiting. Seeing the two friends he had grown up with, Ning Fan forced himself to set aside the bloodline report for now. "I need a favor." He licked his lips, speaking with quiet apology. "Please. Take care of my mother for me." "Are you stupid? Why so polite with us?" The bespectacled youth punched him lightly in the chest. "We're both orphans. Aunt Fong treated us like her own sons. Looking after her is only right. Big Fan, you're stubborn as hell. Once you decide something, no one can stop you." The chubby boy's face was clouded with worry. "But for Aunt Fong's sake, you'd better come back alive." Ning Fan nodded firmly. The chubby boy shook a bag in his hand, fragrant steam wafting from within. "Don't worry about Aunt Fong. We'll make sure she eats well." Food in the lower city fell into two kinds. One was local, hunted or gathered from the wild. Filling, cheap but saturated with miasma. The other was food gifted from the upper city. Every day the upper city dumped its leftovers and refused down a pipeline called the Road of Grace. Each district had one. Ironically, those scraps, after being reprocessed, sold for 3 times the price of local food. The reason was simple. Even leftovers from the upper city were cleaner and healthier than anything the lower city produced. This food was called refined fare. And the bag in the chubby boy's hand contained exactly that. "Thanks. I won't say more." Ning Fan's voice was thick with gratitude. "When I earn money." "Enough. Stop babbling and get going." The chubby boy shoved his shoulder. "Staying alive matters more than anything." "All right. I'm off." Ning Fan nodded solemnly, then turned toward the district wall. He didn't dare look back. He feared hesitation. He feared attachment. He was only 18. He feared death. He feared separation. Half an hour later, when he reached the edge of the wall, his emotions finally began to settle. Compared to the inner district, this place was far noisier. Groups of men brawled and shouted, sometimes breaking into sudden fights for no reason. These were wanderers. Ning Fan scanned the area, then fixed his gaze on a rotting wooden board. 4 words were carved into it with a knife. "House of Wild Dogs." He walked closer. Beside the board sat a man in his mid-20s, handsome but marred by 3 claw scars running from his neck to his ear. Seeing Ning Fan approach, the man raised a brow. Patron or beggar? Patron meant hiring them for a job. Beggar meant joining them to survive. "Beggar," Ning Fan said evenly. "The kind that eats his fill." "Oh." The man's interest sharpened as he looked him over. "Got any special skills to back that up? Is Lin Chuan here? You know Brother Chuan?" "Not personally. I've heard of him." Ning Fan always prepared in advance. A month ago, after failing the upper city selection, he had begun studying the Wanderer teams of F-32. If rejected, becoming a wanderer was his last resort. Among the chaotic groups he chose the House of Wild Dogs. Good reputation, steady work, fair pay. He had even gathered information on all its members, and knew their leader was Lin Chuan. Suddenly, a heavy hand slammed onto his shoulder from behind. Looking to beg from me? The blow nearly knocked him down. Ning Fan frowned and turned. The man behind him was only about 1.7 meters tall, but his frame was compact and powerful, with long hair, a beard, and a lazy gleam in his eyes. Can you handle it? Ning Fan asked. Brother Chuan, this kid says he wants full meals. Big appetite, the younger man chuckled. Ha! Lin Chuan circled around, grinning, and sat on a fuel drum. Little brother, I see dozens like you every year. Men who want money without risking their lives. But forget eating your fill. Few even survive. Ning Fan didn't argue. He simply pulled a paper from his coat and handed it over. Lin Chuan snatched it, glanced at the contents, and his lazy eyes lit up. Well, damn. A prodigy. It was Ning Fan's exam record. 9 trials. Perfect scores. The only one in F32. No wonder you're so confident. A real talent, eh? But Ning Fan caught the flicker of disdain in his eyes. That was the look of a man who had faced death, sneering at a so-called genius who hid behind test scores. Huizi, didn't you take the trials a few years back? What were your scores? Lin Chuan asked the younger man. Huizi smirked. Not a single pass. Nearly lost to an idiot in my batch. He spoke with pride, not shame. Lin Chuan chuckled. He's my vice captain now. And? Ning Fan asked. And nothing. Lin Chuan tilted his head. I'm telling you, whether you eat or starve has nothing to do with that piece of paper. Then what does it depend on? Ning Fan's voice was calm. Can you read? Lin Chuan rapped the rotting board. I want wild dogs that bite prey, not rabbits with perfect grades. How do you know I'm a rabbit? Ning Fan's persistence made Lin Chuan frown, irritation creeping in. How many days left on Yang Beihai's commission? Lin Chuan asked Huizi. 5. Kid. Lin Chuan raised a brow at Ning Fan. We won't leave the district for 5 days. If you want, and it's simple. Before we go, use that sword on your back to draw his blood. Then you're in. Damn it, why am I the target again? Huizi protested. What, afraid of being scratched by a rookie? Lin Chuan laughed, stepping closer to Ning Fan. But if you can't even touch him before we leave, don't bother coming back. This life isn't for you. Fine. Agreed. Ning Fan nodded quietly. Huizi muttered under his breath, still wanting to argue. But in the next instant, Ning Fan whipped out his black sword and slashed at Huizi's left arm. Clang. Steel rang against steel. At some point, Huizi had drawn a dagger, blocking the strike. Ning Fan's eyes narrowed. He had moved fast, decisively, aiming to catch him off guard. Swordsmanship was one of the 9 trials. He had scored full marks. Yet Huizi had reacted instinctively without preparation. That pain exploded in Ning Fan's abdomen. His body flew backward. Around them, the wanderers barely glanced before returning to their business. Conflict was routine here. Huizi sheathed his dagger, strolled over, and crouched beside the fallen Ning Fan, tugging up his trouser leg to loom over him. If you'd aimed for my head, your odds would have been 30% higher. From the moment you accepted Brother Chuan's wager, you and I became enemies. His smile dripped with mockery. And against an enemy, you still hesitate? Ning Fan clutched his stomach, brows knitting faintly. Huizi's words struck him harder than the kick itself. Never, not once, had Ning Fan thought of Huizi as an enemy, let alone someone whose life he should take. Lin Chuan had said only, make him bleed a little. To Ning Fan this was nothing more than a test. 'Cause the smallest wound possible passed the trial, and that would be enough. But Huizi was teaching him something entirely new. Then you could kill me. Why don't you? Pain churned in Ning Fan's gut like a storm, Yet he forced himself to retort. Huizi's kick had been heavy, but not fatal. Well. You can draw conclusions, can you? Fine, prodigy. Use these 5 days to figure out why I didn't kill you. I'll give you one hint. Huizi rose, head lowered, the smile fading from his eyes, replaced by a cold gleam. I didn't spare you out of mercy. That look chilled Ningfan to the bone. He believed it. Huizi had truly considered killing him. But why? Why would a man so easily harbor murderous intent toward a stranger? Ningfan stared at him for a long time, then bracing against the pain, picked up the black sword he had dropped when he was kicked aside. Slinging it across his back, he turned and walked into a nearby alley. Giving up already? Kids these days, no grit at all. Huizi sneered. But Lin Chuan narrowed his eyes at Ningfan's retreating figure. He'll be back. Huizi blinked, then scoffed. What, Brother Chuan? Even if he does, you'd really take him in? How do you figure? Come on. If you didn't want him, why make him cut me? Just for fun. Watch your mouth, brat. Getting bold, are you? Why pick on me? I'm the most obedient one here. Their banter ended with Lin Chuan's sudden grin. So, do you think that kid will succeed? Brother, I think you're insulting me. Huizi curled his lip. I've hunted hawks all my life. You think some chick could peck out my eyes? I think he can. Lin Chuan's tone grew thoughtful. Care to wager? Huizi's expression hardened. Lin Chuan wasn't joking. Did he truly believe that exam-trained boy could wound him? Fine. I'll bet my next mission's pay. Done. Lin Chuan clapped his shoulder. 5,000 sola. I'll leave you enough for dinner. As Lin Chuan turned to go, Huizi grabbed his arm. Wait, Brother Chuan. Why are you so sure I'll lose? Because his grades were better than yours. Damn it. Huizi bristled at the answer. Yet those words made him take the matter seriously. He raised his guard to the level he used outside the district. But the entire day passed and Ningfan never appeared. On the second day, as Huizi set up the rotting sign of the House of Wild Dogs, he spotted him. Ningfan sat 100 meters away against the wall. What unsettled Huizi was the boy's eyes, locked on him, unblinking, unmoving. At noon, Ningfan pulled a greasy lump of food from his pocket, chewing while staring. It was the cheapest fare of the lower city, shadowhound meat. Its taste defied description. Sour, rancid, fibrous. Every swallow scraped the throat like knives. And it was thick with miasma. Its only virtues. Cheap, filling. That small piece cost 5 sola, enough to last 3 days. Expressionless, Ningfan ate a few bites, then tucked the rest away. His gaze never left Huizi. The longer it went on, the more it unnerved him. At first he ignored it. But imagine someone staring at you from sunrise to sunset, never blinking away. What would you feel? By nightfall, even after Huizi had packed up, Ningfan remained eyes fixed. Hey! Huizi finally snapped, striding over. What's the point? Staring at me like that, what does it achieve? Ningfan lifted his head. I'm thinking of ways to hurt you. Have you thought of one? Yes. Oh. Ready to strike? No. What do you mean? Nothing. Lin Chuan gave me 5 days. This is only the second. I'm not in a hurry. Why are you? Ningfan rose calmly. Heading home. What, you plan to follow me? No. Just telling you, don't sleep. He smiled politely, almost courteous. I know where you live. Damn it. Huizi felt as though he'd punched cotton. What game was this boy playing? But the pressure was real. That night, Huizi didn't sleep. He feared being caught off guard, humiliated. Fortunately, years in the wild had hardened him. A day or two without sleep was nothing. On the third morning, Ningfan was already waiting at the wall. Huizi glared at him sourly. As before, even while eating, Ningfan's eyes never strayed. Kid, what now? Planning to sneak into my house tonight. I didn't go yesterday. Ningfan smiled. After you left, I found a place to sleep. Wheezy nearly spat blood. You little. But tonight I'll definitely come. Ning Fan's tone was serious. Wheezy knew there was one way to guarantee victory in Lin Chuan's wager. Cripple Ning Fan now, leave him unable to act. But doing so would admit he feared being outwitted by a rookie. His pride, his vice-captain's pride, was worth too much. Fine. I'll be waiting. Wheezy snarled. That night he lay awake until dawn. Ning Fan never came. Wheezy suspected he was being toyed with, but fear of failure kept him from risking sleep. By the fourth morning Wheezy was a wreck. Seeing Ning Fan again, he abandoned the sign and marched straight to him. Why didn't you come last night? I fell asleep. Ning Fan's voice was apologetic. I meant to nap and strike later, but I was too tired. When I opened my eyes, it was already morning. You still have the mood to sleep? Wheezy exploded. It's the fourth day. Tomorrow night I leave the district. The closer the deadline, the more cautious I'll be. Don't you understand? I understand. Ning Fan nodded like a student. But I only get one chance. I'll strike when I'm certain. Otherwise, I'd just give you an excuse to hurt me. Wheezy raised a brow. Not stupid this one. I see your game. You're trying to wear me down. Wait until my guard slips, then strike. He snorted. Kid, you underestimate wanderers. We can go 6-7 days without sleep and still fight at full strength. With your skill, I could close my eyes and you'd never touch me. Understood. Thank you for the warning. I won't underestimate you. Ning Fan bowed his head politely. Wheezy glared at him for a long time, then finally snorted and returned to his post. That night Ning Fan again promised he would strike. Though he'd been deceived twice, Wheezy believed him this time. The boy's reasoning made sense. Tonight's my last chance. I'll come for sure. Wheezy waited all night. At dawn, with dark circles under his eyes, he saw Ning Fan once more. Damn you, brat. Why the hell didn't you come last night? Wheezy was burning with rage. Though Ning Fan hadn't so much as touched a hair on him, he felt ready to cough up blood. 3 sleepless nights were nothing. But for the proud vice-captain of the House of Wild Dogs to be toyed with by a brat, if word spread, what would the world think of him? Wheezy the fool. How could he ever show his face in the Wanderer's circle again? You little punk, are you trying to drive me mad enough to spit blood? Wheezy ground his teeth. No. Ning Fan shook his head seriously. Lin Chuan said I had to make you bleed with my black sword. Spitting blood doesn't count. Wheezy replayed the conversation from days ago. Truth be told, he hadn't paid much attention to the fine print. Then too bad. If the condition is wounding me with your sword, you don't stand a chance. He froze mid-sentence. Where was the sword? The black blade that had always hung across Ning Fan's back was gone. Something was off. But Wheezy couldn't read the boy at all. Ning Fan suddenly waved past him. You're here. Wheezy stiffened but didn't turn. He sneered instead. Childish trick. Hide your sword, make me look back, then try a sneak attack? I thought you had more than. Wheezy. Heard you haven't slept in 3 days. Lin Chuan's voice came from behind. Wheezy spun around. His captain stood there. Damn it. He wished the earth would swallow him whole. Brother Chuan, why are you here so early? His face flushed crimson, embarrassed to even speak. Then he saw it, the coal-black sword dangling from Lin Chuan's hand. Brother Chuan, that sword. Before he could finish, Lin Chuan flicked his wrist. The blade nicked Wheezy's forearm. A shallow cut. But blood welled up. Wheezy stared, stunned. 10 seconds passed before he accepted the truth. It was indeed his captain. But why had Lin Chuan struck him? I've passed the test, haven't I? Ning Fan's voice came from behind. Wheezy turned, eyes red, to see the boy smiling faintly. What is going on? He was unraveling. Toyed with for days, now betrayed by the man he respected most. It made no sense. The one who explained was Ning Fan. Let me answer the question you left me. He licked his dry lips. That day you didn't kill me, not out of mercy but because you had a commission today. Killing inside the district isn't unforgivable, but it brings trouble. Usually 7 days in confinement. If you'd killed me then you'd have missed your mission. Huizi said nothing. Ning Fan was right. 5 days remained before the job. Killing him would have cost Huizi the commission. Not worth it. But what mattered now was, why had Lin Chuan cut him? Once I figured that out, I went to the Windcutter gang. Another Wanderer team in F-32 rival to the Wild Dogs. What did you go there for? Huizi was baffled. A commission. Ning Fan smiled. I asked how much they'd charge to wound you. Huizi was dumbstruck. Ning Fan shrugged. I knew I wasn't your match. Even my best ambush failed. In 5 days I couldn't possibly grow strong enough to beat you. So I had to hire someone. The Windcutters quoted 8,000 sola, but they couldn't promise they wouldn't kill you outright. He went on calm as ever. You said once I accepted the test we were enemies. Against enemies no mercy. But I will join the Wild Dogs. Hiring outsiders to kill the vice-captain would hardly help team unity. Sweat trickled down Huizi's brow. If Ning Fan hadn't told him, he'd never have known how close he came to being marked by the Windcutters. Given the rivalry, if they'd taken the job they might have gone for the kill. And then, I confirmed the market price, 8,000. But I only had 6,000. I was short. Ning Fan's smile faltered, showing exhaustion. So I worked nights on the Road of Grace sorting scraps. 300 sola a shift. 4 nights. Just enough. The job paid well but most couldn't endure it. It was crushingly hard. You've been eating Shadowhound meat because they give 1 piece every 3 nights. Ning Fan's smile was genuine. Free food. Saves me money. Every coin went to hiring someone to cut you. Huizi's mouth twitched. Did he have to say it so earnestly? Yet the boy's grit moved him. Ning Fan hadn't just worked nights. By day he'd kept his eyes on Huizi. Which meant he hadn't slept at all. You watched me in the day because, in case you slipped. If I could wound you myself I'd save 8,000. Ning Fan scratched his head. But you're too good. Not a single opening. So you kept me awake for days because I hated the thought of me working myself to death while you slept soundly. Ning Fan grinned, teeth flashing. You taught me we're enemies until I pass. I never meant to kill you, but I didn't want my enemy too comfortable. Huizi's face turned green. He'd been played. Ning Fan had no time to attack him at night, he was working. Huizi had frightened himself into 3 sleepless nights. It stung worse than a slap. By now he understood it all. So you raced the money and instead of the Windcutters, you went to Brother Chuan? I figured better to let my own people earn it than outsiders. Ning Fan looked at Lin Chuan. I told him, if he refused I'd go back to the Windcutters. The outcome was obvious. Lin Chuan took the 8,000 sola. And cut Huizi. Now he tossed the black sword back to Ning Fan. Little wild dog. From now on you eat from our trough. Thank you, Captain. Ning Fan's form of address shifted. From now on I'll be in your care. Huizi pulled a long face. Brother Chuan, you actually cut me for 8,000 sola? How could that be? 8,000 sola isn't enough to damage the bond between us. Lin Chuan's expression was firm. Huizi felt a flicker of warmth. I knew it. You'd never betray me for that little money. You still owe me 5,000 from our wager, Lin Chuan reminded him. 8 plus 5 makes 13,000. That's the price of a level 1 risk commission. Think carefully, brother. Was that cut worth it? Do I get a share of that 8,000? Huizi asked, face flushed. Lin Chuan raised a brow, displeased. What's it got to do with you? That was my private job. Damn. Huizi wanted to curse but he didn't dare. Not at Lin Chuan. Lin Chuan ignored him, turning instead to Ning Fan. Money had been part of why he accepted the boy's commission. But more importantly, if he refused, Ning Fan truly would have gone to the Windcutter gang. And those men would not have been so careful. Meticulous, bold, decisive. Willing to sacrifice everything to reach his goal. Such a person might indeed be cut from the cloth of a wanderer. He only needed shaping. Go home and sleep. We leave the district at 7. Lin Chuan dismissed Huizi. There was still a mission tonight. If Huizi kept pushing without rest, heading outside would be no joke. Huizi slumped off, shoulders heavy. You're not sleeping? Lin Chuan asked Ning Fan, curious. Not tired. I'm fine. Back at the academy, going half a month without sleep was common. Ning Fan scratched his head and smiled. Lin Chuan's eyes shifted. Exam scores meant little among wanderers. But to pass every trial with full marks proved not only intelligence but relentless effort. Both were essential. Who knew how much Ning Fan had endured for that perfect record? Kid, sit. Lin Chuan propped up the wild dog's wooden sign and patted the fuel drum beside him. All right. They sat side by side. Lin Chuan studied the boy's youthful face. Isn't living enough? Why insist on being a wanderer? This meal is eaten with blood. For money. Ning Fan answered honestly. Lin Chuan chuckled. A top student from the academy shouldn't give such a utilitarian answer. Then what should I say? Ning Fan tilted his head. For the safety of F-32, to purge the dangers beyond the walls, I'll sacrifice my life without regret? Isn't that the standard answer? That's the pretentious answer. Ning Fan looked toward his home. I don't have such lofty ambitions. I don't have the strength to carry everyone's hopes. I just want the people close to me to live healthy lives. That's enough. Lin Chuan didn't press further. He patted Ning Fan's shoulder. Every wanderer has a story, a reason they must endure. You're not unique. Heaven won't spare you for your resolve, nor will the monsters outside. To reach your goal, you can rely only on yourself. I understand, Captain. No need to call me Captain. We're all wild dogs scavenging together. Call me Brother Chuan like Huizi does. All right, Brother Chuan. By 6 o'clock, 7 people had gathered at the wild dog sign. Besides Ning Fan and Lin Chuan, Huizi had returned after his nap. For others, 3 men and 1 woman stood waiting. Introducing Ning Fan, our new pup, Lin Chuan said. Ning Fan smiled humbly. You're all veterans. If I make mistakes, please forgive me. I'll do my best not to cause trouble. When do we leave? Asked a woman in a black leather jacket, her tone cold. No one reacted to Ning Fan's arrival. When Yang Beihai delivers the goods, Lin Chuan replied. His voice hardened. This commission is level 2 risk. Pay is 30,000 sola. Same rules as always. Leave your family's name and address. If anyone dies, their kin receive 5,000 compensation. Survivors, myself included, are paid by merit. Any objections? No one spoke. But Ning Fan felt uneasy. Discussing death before departure. Wanderers truly earned with their lives hanging by a thread. Level 2 risk? Huizi frowned. Isn't it just delivery to F-27? We've run that route a dozen times. Where's the risk? Yang Beihai said this cargo is valuable. The level 2 pay means the goods are worth more than our lives. As Lin Chuan finished, a rumbling echoed from the inner district. A crude vehicle, cobbled together from scrap metal, rattled toward them. Calling it a car was generous. This was the lower city. Whatever fell from the road of grace they used. No one knew better than the lower city how to wring value from waste. Captain Lin. Thanks for taking this on. A burly bald man with a scarred face leapt down as the vehicle stopped. Same deal as always. Borrow the car. If it breaks, 5,000 deducted from your pay. Fine. Lin Chuan peered inside. The cargo. It's there. The bald man's tone grew stern. Captain Lin, this commission must succeed. F-32 trusts you above all. Don't ruin your reputation. No wanderer can promise success, Lin Chuan said coldly. But as long as the wild dogs have survivors, your cargo will reach its destination. Good. That's enough for me. The bald man smiled in relief. Lin Chuan wasted no more words. He raised his arm. Dogs on board. Time to earn. Ning Fan recalled their talk that afternoon. Lin Chuan had said he could choose not to go. If he wasn't ready to face the world outside, he'd be given time. But Ning Fan didn't hesitate. He had prepared a month ago. Climbing aboard with the others, he found the vehicle surprisingly spacious despite its shabby shell. 7 of them fit easily with room to spare. Huizi took the driver's seat, started the engine and rolled toward a massive iron gate. Another mission, Brother Chuan? The guard at the gate greeted him warmly. After a few pleasantries, Ning Fan saw Lin Chuan slip the man 1,000 sola. The guard tucked it away with a grin, then ordered the gate opened. The iron groaned, parting just enough for their vehicle to squeeze through. Beyond the wall. Last I've arrived. For Ning Fan, stepping outside for the first time, his heart trembled with unease. Darkness stretched ahead, almost absolute. Before he could adjust, cries rang out beyond the window. Help me. Please help me. I'll pay 1,000 sola. Ning Fan froze. He looked out. A man, limbs shattered, body drenched in blood, crawled desperately toward the gate. Smack. A heavy hand landed on Ning Fan's shoulder. Welcome to hell, pup. For many, the lower city was already hell. But to wanderers, those people imagined hell far too kindly. Lin Chuan's hand remained heavy on Ning Fan's shoulder. Kid, you're trembling. Ning Fan admitted it, his body was indeed shaking. The scene before him was nothing like the lessons taught at the academy about the world beyond the walls. Outside there was no light. Beasts roamed freely. Even plants that seemed harmless could conceal deadly traps. All of this Ning Fan had studied. But no one had ever told him there would be so many people. So many dying, struggling people. As his eyes adjusted to the dark, the world outside the vehicle came into focus. Beyond the district wall, corpses littered the ground. The few still alive were barely clinging on. The man who had cried for help was one of the lucky ones. At least he could still speak. Most couldn't even breathe. They lay there, perhaps only wanting to die closer to home. Ning Fan turned back toward the gate, now sealed shut. For those inside, it blocked danger. But for those outside, it severed their last path to life. Brother Chuan, aren't we going to save him? Ning Fan pointed at the man who had begged, hesitated, then added, he offered 1,000 sola. The woman in the black leather jacket smirked but said nothing. Lin Chuan didn't answer either. The vehicle rolled on for half an hour. Aside from the carnage at the gate, they met no danger. Ning Fan kept his eyes fixed on the window, desperate to learn faster about this world. Suddenly the car stopped. Brother Chuan, someone's blocking the road, Huizi said, a dagger flashing into his hand. The others drew weapons instantly. Their reactions were sharp, practiced. Lin Chuan leaned out the window, face expressionless. I'm Lin Chuan of F-32's Wild Dogs. What's your business, brother? Ahead stood a man in his 30s, blood dripping from his right arm. Need a ride, he rasped. 5,000 sola. Where to? Lin Chuan asked flatly. Wherever you're headed. I won't make you detour. What can you do? The man raised his left hand, revealing a strange-shaped gun. Ning Fan noticed something odd. Lin Chuan seemed about to ask another question but stopped himself. And he caught Lin Chuan glancing at him. Because of me? Ning Fan thought it likely. He was new to the wild dogs. Trust would not come quickly. What level? Lin Chuan asked suddenly. The man blinked, thought for a moment. Single soul. Get in. Lin Chuan opened the door. Relief washed over the man as he climbed aboard, handing over a thick stack of sola without being told. That was the rule. Pay to ride. Pay to live. You know the deal, Lin Chuan said quietly. If danger comes we can't handle, you're the cannon fodder. The man gave a weary smile. I know. Ning Fan understood now too. At the gate he had asked if they would save the dying man. No one had answered. Now he knew why. First, 1,000 sola was too little. Second, the man had no strength left, dead weight. Third, he wasn't even qualified to be cannon fodder. No one had explained because outside wasn't the academy. Here you learned with your eyes, your mind, your body. But what was single soul? Just as Huizi prepared to drive again, the man in the passenger seat sniffed the air, frowning. Dogs. How many? 5 to 8. Out. Kill them. Lin Chuan's command was sharp. The others obeyed without hesitation, weapons flashing. Ning Fan stepped out too, gripping his black sword tight. In the dark, green eyes gleamed. Shadow hounds. His grip tightened further. This was his first real battle. No training dummies. No wooden stakes. Real beasts that fought back, that killed. Stay in the car. Huizi ordered him. Newcomer's privilege. First encounter you watch. Ning Fan blinked, surprised. But before he could reply, the others had already charged. They moved with instinctive coordination, each finding an opponent without a word. Ning Fan's gaze fixed on Huizi. He had fought him before, he wanted to see his true strength. And within half a minute Ning Fan saw the problem. A big problem. Huizi's movements were sloppy. Horizontal slashes, side cuts, thrusts, all of them would have failed academy standards. Ning Fan's swordsmanship was broad, flowing, precise. Every move demanded perfection. But Huizi, he abandoned one strike halfway to launch another. Yet those crude motions felled a shadow hound in less than a minute. Practical. The word struck Ning Fan's mind. Now he understood why Lin Chuan and Huizi had sneered at his exam scores. Swordsmanship for grades was performance. Swordsmanship for survival was something else entirely. The others fought the same way. Name's Qing Bin. The rescued man appeared at Ning Fan's side. You're new, huh? Ning Fan nodded warily. Yeah. Your captain doesn't trust you. Ning Fan raised a brow. What do you mean? Nothing. Qing Bin shrugged with a sly smile. But if he did trust you, killing a few shadow hounds wouldn't have been this complicated. Ning Fan eyed him cautiously. Qing Bin said no more. The fight ended quickly. The wanderers returned to the car. Huizi didn't start the engine. The man in the passenger seat suddenly turned, hand shooting out. Before Ning Fan could react, he had Qing Bin by the throat. Qing Bin flinched, instinctively raising his gun, only to freeze as Lin Chuan's blade pressed against his groin. Friend, Lin Chuan said softly, this brother of mine is Wang Yi. His nose is sharp, his ears sharper. His eyes narrowed. We saved you for money. But if you start whispering to my men, I'll keep my promise. I'll deliver your corpse to the destination. Understood? Do I need to repeat myself? Lin Chuan's voice was cold. No need. Qing Bin licked his lips. I promise I'll keep my mouth shut. Thanks for your cooperation, patron. Lin Chuan withdrew his blade. Wang Yi released his grip. Yet the tension inside the vehicle barely eased. Huizi started the engine at once. Ning Fan lowered his head, replaying Qing Bin's words. There had to be something important hidden in them. Otherwise Lin Chuan and Wang Yi wouldn't have warned him so sharply. Distrust? What were they hiding? Strength. The answer came quickly. Qing Bin had said that with this team's true power, killing shadow hounds shouldn't have been so troublesome. And Ning Fan remembered how easily they had dispatched the beasts, like chopping vegetables. He hadn't sensed any difficulty at all. So that wasn't their full strength? What was the real measure of the wild dog's power? And why conceal it? With these questions gnawing at him, the vehicle rolled on for several kilometers. By now Ning Fan's eyes had adjusted to the dark. The faint glow of phosphorescent plants let him see 10 meters ahead. Blurred, but enough. Brother Chuan's snake cave or detour? Huizi's voice broke the silence. Lin Chuan thought for a moment. Detour. Safer. Got it. Huizi turned the wheel left. We'll pass through the mist swamp. If we run into rot-face frogs, Qiao Fei, you handle it. Fine. The woman in the black leather jacket nodded coolly. On missions, pay was earned by labor. The more you did, the more you made. Sure enough, before long, an unpleasant croaking echoed outside. I'll take it. Qiao Fei swung the door open and leapt from the moving vehicle. Don't wait for me. She vanished into the dark. Huizi didn't even glance back, keeping the same speed. Moments later, the croaking ceased. A shadow streaked from the blackness. Long hair streaming, curves sharp. Qiao Fei was faster than the car, grabbing the door to swing herself back inside. Ning Fan saw her hand, bloodied, clutching a fist-sized orb. Rot-face frog gallstone. Anyone want it? She held it up. Internal sale. 1,000. I'll take it. Qingbin blurted. My hand's killing me. This'll stop the pain and bleeding. You're not internal. 2,000. Fine. Grinding his teeth, Qingbin pulled out the money and bought it. Without hesitation, he swallowed the bloody gallstone whole. As Qiao Fei counted the bills and tucked them into her cleavage, the croaking returned. Guawu, guawu, guawu. She frowned. Not just her. Everyone except Ning Fan showed unease. Wild dog, how many? Huizi asked low. Wang Ye's eyes gleamed, ears twitching. His face hardened. Damn. Too many. He turned to Lin Chuan. More than 10. Lin Chuan cursed. Can we avoid them? Not easily. They're fanning out. To dodge, we'd have to take the snake cave. Forget it. That's worse. Lin Chuan clapped Huizi's shoulder. Stop the car. The vehicle halted. Huizi glanced at Ning Fan before saying, Brother Chuan, 10 rot-face frogs. Not easy. Try first. Lin Chuan stepped out. Ning Fan followed and finally saw them. Rot-face frogs. He'd seen them in the Academy's bestiary. But seeing them in flesh was different. No, revolting. Their faces were melted, skin like acid-burned flesh, constantly writhing. And to think the gallstone had come from inside one. Qingbin had swallowed it without flinching. Ning Fan felt a grudging respect. This was survival. Living outside meant enduring anything. The frogs were taller than a man, leaping forward in grotesque bounds. Spotting the group by the car, they jumped faster, hungrier. Huizi de Zhuang, hold them. This time Lin Chuan didn't leave it to instinct. His commands were sharp. Qiao Fei with me, focus one target. Wang Yi, Old Duan and our patron, cover fire. No one answered. But everyone knew their role. Even Qingbin. Ning Fan, however, was ignored. Brother Chuan, what about me? The first time Huizi had called it newcomer's privilege. But now Ning Fan felt he had to act. Otherwise he'd earn nothing. He wasn't here for a ride. He was here to make money. Lin Chuan didn't answer. He only barked to Qiao Fei, go. They moved as one, charging fast. One frog grew excited, leaping higher. Clang. Qiao Fei drew her tang blade, sliding low beneath it, slashing for its belly. The frog sensed danger, jerked upward midair to dodge. But Lin Chuan was already above it, blade raised. You think you can jump? His roar split the dark as his blade struck its ruined face. The blow wasn't fatal, but it knocked the beast from the air. Qiao Fei's blade flashed. Flash. Foul blood poured from its belly. She twisted gracefully, avoiding the spray. Ning Fan's eyes shone. Perfect coordination. No wasted motion. Lin Chuan's commands had been simple, without detail. Yet they knew exactly what the other would do. Only now did Ning Fan realize. Though he had joined the wild dogs, he was still an outsider. Only when he built such trust and rhythm would he truly be one of them. But then Lin Chuan's eyes widened. Qiao Fei. Behind you. She reacted instantly, sprinting forward without looking back. She didn't need to know. Danger was certain. From Ning Fan's angle he saw it clearly. The frog's mouth opened, a serrated tongue lashing out. Damn it! Lin Chuan's face hardened. And then Ning Fan saw something that made his whole body tremble. Lin Chuan's blade glowed red. From within the light came his low growl. Spirit servant, butcher. Cough. Ning Fan sat in the vehicle choking on the stench. The smell of blood so heavy it was thicker than the air outside the walls. He quickly realized it was coming from Lin Chuan's blade. Spirit servant, butcher? What did that mean? Before he could think, Lin Chuan swung his knife forward. A crimson crescent tore from the blade. The blood-red arc sliced clean through the rot-faced frog's tongue, severing the serrated appendage. It writhed on the ground, twitching even after being cut. Qiao Fei's breath caught, but she steadied herself quickly. Brother Chuan, can I use it? Lin Chuan turned to Ning Fan, who sat stunned. Kid, what you saw today, keep it buried. Ning Fan nodded stiffly. Now he understood what they had been hiding. Because the others too began to unleash their so-called spirit servants. Spirit servant, flower dance. Qiao Fei's voice rang out, her tang blade flaring with dazzling light. The frog behind her, maddened by its severed tongue, shrieked hideously. Her brows knit, her cold, beautiful face showing irritation. She turned, raised her blade. And the world blurred. Ning Fan couldn't even follow the rhythm of her strikes. The frog froze, its cries cut short. Flash. Her wrist flicked, the blade trailing filth across the ground in a perfect circle. Gurgle, gurgle. Cracks split across the frog's body. Then, like a net tightening, patterns spread until the beast collapsed into chunks of meat. Shredded, in 3 seconds. This was a wonder. Ning Fan had thought he understood them before joining. But in less than half a day outside, his knowledge was already shattered. The rules. The strength. Why had no one in the inner district ever spoken of spirit servants? Elsewhere, Huizi had already dispatched 2 frogs. His spirit servant was called Shadow. In under a minute, the swamp fell silent. All the rot-faced frogs were dead. Faster, cleaner than the hounds earlier. Qingbin hadn't lied. With their true power, the wild dogs didn't struggle at all. They had simply held back before. The team returned to the car. Want more? Qiao Fei held up 2 gallstones. Cheap this time, 3,000 for both. Qingbin winced. Beauty, my money doesn't grow on trees. You think I'm a walking fool? I've already spent 7,000 just sitting here. Qiao Fei frowned, displeased at losing a sale. Fine. I'll take them. I'll sell them at the black market in F27. Call it helping you move product. He handed over 3,000. She studied his face, then passed him the stones. Lin Chuan's gaze stayed fixed on the window. Keep moving. Got it. Huizi pressed the accelerator. Ning Fan kept glancing at Lin Chuan, hesitant. Finally he whispered, Brother Chuan. I know. Lin Chuan cut him off, then asked with a smirk, Was I handsome just now? What? Ning Fan blinked. In this deadly place, Lin Chuan still had time to ask that? Yet what Ning Fan wanted to say was important. Vital to everyone's safety. Do you know why I didn't want you seeing us use spirit servants? Lin Chuan pressed. Use that clever head of yours. Ning Fan realized Lin Chuan didn't want him to speak his earlier thought aloud. He followed the lead. In the inner district, I gathered all the data I could on wanderers. But nowhere, no record, no academy lesson, ever mentions spirit servants. And you warned me to bury what I saw today. So I suspect spirit servants are the wanderer's core secret. You're half right. Lin Chuan's eyes glinted with approval. Smart kid. And the other half? Ning Fan was desperate to learn more, soaking up knowledge like a sponge. The other half, Lin Chuan's gaze sharpened, scrutinizing him. Spirit servants aren't just the wanderer's secret. They're the lower city's secret. Something in his eyes was wrong. The next instant, A blade pressed against Ning Fan's throat. Lin Chuan's knife. The red glow was gone, but its chill remained. Brother Chuan Yu. The sudden turn left Ning Fan stunned. Why? Kid, I've always wondered one thing. I want your answer. Lin Chuan's eyes were fierce. The others acted as if nothing was happening, each busy with their own tasks. What thing? Why are you in the lower city? His voice was low, heavy. 5 days ago at the upper city selection. Why weren't you chosen? Ning Fan swallowed hard. On January 1st, when he was rejected, he had shown no anger. But that didn't mean he hadn't felt it. He had been furious. Not at them but at fate. Yet his mother's failing body had left no room for rage. Now with Lin Chuan's blade at his throat, his blood boiled. Perfect scores in all 9 trials. With results like that, the upper city nobles should have welcomed you. They need fine servants. And you fit their taste perfectly. Lin Chuan's eyes grew colder. Ning Fan felt the edge bite his skin, a thin line of blood welling. Kid, choose your next words carefully. Think before you answer. Lin Chuan's finger traced the air around the cabin. Every soul in this car. If even one doubts your answer, you die. Huizi kept driving. Qiao Fei calmly wiped her tang blade. Qingbin chuckled, watching as though it were a play. It seemed that in this vehicle only Ning Fan felt the weight of tension. Ning Fan. His fists slowly clenched, his breath grew heavier. The eyes that had always been calm finally shifted. Bigger. Humiliation. Defiance. But not fear. All his life, Ning Fan had suppressed his emotions. His face rarely betrayed joy, sorrow, or rage. As if nothing mattered. And yet as if everything did. Kid, that look. Now you're starting to resemble a wanderer. Lin Chuan sneered. But if you can't give me a proper explanation, you still die. Damn. Ning Fan suddenly laughed under his breath. The sound made Huizi glance at him through the rearview mirror, curious. That was his catchphrase. And this boy had always seemed humble, obedient. Brother Chuan, you brought me into the wild dogs because you think I'm here to gather intel, don't you? Ning Fan lifted his chin, chest heaving. Spirit servants are the lower city's core secret. You don't want the upper city learning too much. So you took me in, just to bury me outside the walls. Lin Chuan chuckled. Smart boy. Quick to catch on. From the moment you saw my perfect scores, you suspected me? Ning Fan pressed. Lin Chuan nodded. More or less. Idiot. The insult was cold, sharp. Lin Chuan froze. Everyone turned to stare at Ning Fan. Had he lost his mind? Huizi's eyes left the road, fixed on him in the mirror. Brother Chuan, he just cursed you. I'm not deaf. He cursed you, not me. Why yell at me? Shut up. Drive. Lin Chuan's face darkened, glaring at Ning Fan. Little bastard. I've led this team for years and never once has a member cursed me. That's because you've never pressed your blade to their throats. Ning Fan's voice was steady. Because I scored well, you suspect I'm an upper city spy? So the wild dogs should only recruit failures. Watch your mouth, brat. Don't drag me into this. Huizi snapped, feeling insulted. Lin Chuan faltered. He had only suspected Ning Fan. If he were certain, he'd have killed him already. But if he wasn't, this boy had adapted quickly. For a newcomer his age, not wetting himself outside the walls was already impressive. A talent. Lin Chuan's respect for him was real. You still haven't explained why you failed the selection. Distrust lingered in his tone. Why? Ning Fan ground his teeth. Because Sun Wenhui had 132nd upper city blood. The group blinked. They hadn't paid much attention to the selection. But Ning Fan erupted, years of repression spilling free. For over a decade, I haven't wasted a single moment. I've done the hardest work. Eaten the worst food. At the academy, I was the most relentless. Since I was 6, I knew my mother's miasma would one day consume her. If I wanted to keep her alive, to stop her from rotting away, The only way was to get the medicine. I trained until I bled half a month without sleep just to perfect one move. I didn't know if academy techniques would help me later. I only knew that perfect form meant perfect scores. I couldn't afford to miss a single chance. Only full marks gave me certainty of entry to the upper city. His eyes burned red. Even his mother had never seen him so raw. His fists cracked as they tightened. You ask why I wasn't chosen? I did everything I could. And those upper city bastards still rejected me. What else could I do? His veins bulged as he roared. If someone had beaten me fair and square, I'd accept it. I'd admit defeat. But all my effort was crushed by 1/32 of filthy bloodline. I won't accept it. Damn them. Silence filled the car. Only Ning Fan's ragged breathing remained. Wang Yi turned to look at him. Even Qiao Fei's cold eyes softened. Upper city scum, Wang Yi sneered. They still see us as rats, cockroaches. They think we'd taint their world. Lin Chuan studied Ning Fan for a long moment. Then his voice dropped. Stop the car. Huizi obeyed instantly. The vehicle halted. Out. Lin Chuan opened the door and leapt down. The others followed without question. Ning Fan too. His fury still burned. Years of repression couldn't vanish in one outburst. I said before, if anyone here doubts you, you die. Lin Chuan's gaze swept the group. I believe you. I do too, Huizi added. The others nodded their acceptance. Only Qing Bin remained silent. All eyes turned to him. Surprised, he asked, I get a vote too? I said everyone in the car counts, Lin Chuan replied coolly. Qing Bin smiled. Then I believe him. He doesn't look like a spy. His hatred for the upper city might even surpass ours. Good. Since everyone believes you, from now on you're truly one of mine. Lin Chuan's face hardened. But you cursed me. I'll remember that. And you put a blade to my throat, Ning Fan shot back. Lin Chuan spread his hands. Fine. Remember too. When you're strong enough to settle the score, I won't complain. Ning Fan ignored him. All right. Your suspicion is cleared. Now, let's discuss the second matter. His tone grew grave. Ning Fan frowned. Second matter? Lin Chuan pointed to the car. I smelled a ghost scent inside. If it wasn't you, then who? Ning Fan stiffened. He knew exactly what Lin Chuan meant. Earlier he had tried to warn him, but Lin Chuan had cut him off, claiming he already knew. Ning Fan's eyes flicked toward Qing Bin. And so did everyone else's. Silent, they closed in around him. Qing Bin glanced at their faces, then sighed with a wry smile. Tell me, when did I give myself away? Ning Fan already had the black sword gripped in his hand. Something about Qing Bin was wrong. He had sensed it long ago. What surprised him was that he wasn't the only one. Everyone in the vehicle had noticed. Every member of the wild dogs was cautious. Even Huizi, whom Ning Fan had once thought careless. Those 2 gallstones, Qiao Fei said coldly. You claimed you'd sell them at the black market in F27. Qing Bin froze. It had been a casual remark. What was wrong with that? But then his eyes shifted. I talked too much, slipped too much. He understood. From the moment they rescued him, not one wild dog had mentioned their destination. Yet he had spoken it aloud, F27. Which meant he already knew where they were headed. His sudden appearance was no coincidence. Brother, what's the meaning? Planning to hijack the cargo? Lin Chuan's blade gleamed in his hand as he asked calmly. Qing Bin scratched his head. Can you spare me? You know the rules. I saved you and you plot against me? Doesn't fit. Lin Chuan shook his head. Tell me who sent you and I'll give you a clean end. Qing Bin chuckled. That little show you staged with the boy, just to get everyone out of the car, right? Afraid fighting inside would wreck the vehicle? Ning Fan stared at Lin Chuan in shock. Had his interrogation been for this? Lin Chuan smirked. Break the car, pay 5,000. Fine. I underestimated you. Thought you were rough, but you're sharp. My mistake. Qingbin spread his hands. Too many of you now. Next time we'll fight properly. Spirit servant, butcher. Lin Chuan's blade flared blood red. You think there'll be a next time? I can't beat you. But I can run. Light burst from Qingbin's gun. Old Duan. Pin him. Lin Chuan barked. Spirit servant, spark. Old Duan raised his staff, weaving a net of crackling electricity. But Qingbin sneered. Spirit servant, earth stride. The soil churned and he sank into the ground as though into water. I said you won't escape. Don't you understand plain words? Lin Chuan didn't move. But Wang Yi did. His nose twitched, then he darted like a lynx toward a patch of mud. Spirit servant, wildcat. Blades sprouted from his fists, sharp as claws. He leapt high, then plunged down. Rip. Blood sprayed. A scream followed. Huizi flashed forward. Spirit servant, shadow. As Wang Yi dragged Qingbin from the earth like a mole, Huizi's dagger stabbed downward, into his shadow. Ah! Qingbin shrieked in agony. Lin Chuan strode forward, blade in hand. Who sent you? His head tilted. You're dying. No point keeping secrets. Ning Fan was stunned. Compared to academy sparring, this was no game. This was a wanderer's battle. When Qingbin vanished underground, Ning Fan thought he'd escaped. But Wang Yi and Huizi had dragged him back like prey. Now Qingbin lay bleeding, 3 gashes torn across his back, flesh peeled open. Spare me. Fear finally flickered in his eyes. I was paid. Killing me won't help. No sparing. Lin Chuan crouched over him, gaze cold. I said, give me an answer, I'll give you a clean death. Fair trade. Qingbin's eyes darted. You eat from the same bowl as us. You know, no mercy for enemies. Be a man. Fall, leave your life, nothing more to say. Then why should I tell you? His voice was bitter. Lin Chuan grinned. Because it'll hurt less. He flicked a glance at Huizi. Huizi's dagger plunged into the shadow again. Ah! Qingbin convulsed, eyes bloodshot. Ning Fan's gaze sharpened. The attack didn't wound his body, only his shadow. Which meant Huizi could torture him endlessly without killing him. True despair. Huizi, the careless joker, wielded a spirit servant crueler than any blade. You're not afraid my screams will draw beasts? Qingbin gasped, pale, desperate. Lin Chuan's smile deepened. From F32 to F27 is like walking home. I know the beast here better than brothers. Scream. I'd like to see if any new ones moved in. Qingbin's face collapsed. He realized Lin Chuan hadn't feared the beasts at all. And with the wild dog's strength, they had reason. Thep. Huizi's dagger struck shadow again. Ah. I'll talk. Qingbin knew there was no escape. No point pretending toughness. I'm a wanderer from F27. No team. Last night the Warbear crew found me. Told me to wait here, infiltrate your group. Didn't say what next. He trembled as he spoke. That's all I know. Oh, one more thing. They told me to carry extra sola. If you found resources to heal or grow stronger, I'd buy them off you. They'd reimburse me later. Lin Chuan's eyes narrowed. So far they'd found 3 gallstones. All taken by Qingbin. He'd eaten one. 2 remained. Lin Chuan searched him, pulling out the stones and stripping the 6,000 sola he still carried. F27, breaking rules. His voice was low as he handed the blade to Ning Fan. And Warbear, living too easy. Why stir up a pack of mad dogs? The group climbed back into the vehicle. Qingbin's corpse lay behind, abandoned in a pool of blood. Ning Fan sat in silence, his heart unsettled. It was the first time he had killed a man. Yes. Qingbin had died by his hand. Lin Chuan had given him the chance. Ning Fan had known that walking the path of a wanderer meant facing such moments sooner or later. But he hadn't expected it to come so quickly, so suddenly. His stomach churned, the shadow hound meat inside him twisting violently. The sour, rancid taste rose up his throat. No one comforted him. No one offered a hand to steady his back. He had chosen to be a wanderer. He could not expect to be treated like a child. Lin Chuan's brows remained furrowed. An hour passed before he finally broke the silence. Up ahead, the Ghost Mist Forest? Yes. Less than 10 kilometers, Huizi replied flatly. Turn right. We'll rest at the cave where we had barbecue last time. Got it. Huizi steered the vehicle to a halt before a cavern. Ning Fan saw the charred remnants of old firewood inside. As Lin Chuan had said, they knew this road well. Well enough to have once held a barbecue feast in this very cave. The group disembarked. De Zhuang gathered wood and lit a fire. But this time they weren't here to eat. We're being watched. Lin Chuan held his hands to the flames, eyes thoughtful. If I'm right, the War Bear crew is already waiting in Ghost Mist Forest. No one spoke. No one panicked. Two choices. First, we detour through Snake Cave, bypass the forest. Second, we cut through. He lifted his head, firelight painting his face red. 7 votes. Majority rules. I'll go first. Fight. Fight through. Kill. I don't see the point. We've taken Snake Cave before. Safety first. We don't know Warbear's strength. Forcing a clash risks too much. 6 voices. 3 for battle, 3 for caution. The result surprised Ning Fan. He had thought Lin Chuan's stance would sway them. But Huizi, Qiao Fei and De Zhuang had voted against. And now the deciding vote fell to him, the newcomer. All eyes turned to him, waiting. Though uneasy, Ning Fan kept his voice steady. Brother Chuan, before I vote, I need to ask something. Ask. Lin Chuan nodded. What exactly is a spirit servant? He had held the question back for too long. The difference between wielding one or not was immense. He needed to know how they were gained. Lin Chuan seemed unsurprised. He didn't answer directly. Do you remember what you saw when we left the inner district? Ning Fan remembered. How could he forget? Corpses everywhere. Starving dead. Brown stains of dried blood across the ground. The wilds are full of souls, Lin Chuan said softly. These souls, gathered over time, become spirits. Spirits have no thought, no will. But they feel the pain of dying. One soul's agony might be bearable. But many together. They need release. And their release is to cling to our weapons. We give them a vessel. They lend us their strength. He raised his blade. This knife holds 6 souls. Together they form the spirit servant I call Butcher. 6 souls. Ning Fan was startled. That seemed many. Don't be surprised. Think, what's most abundant out here? Not beasts. Not plants. Souls. He pointed at Qiao Fei. Her spirit servant is 17 souls. She's the only one among us with a 10-soul grade. Ning Fan's gaze snapped to her. She was calmly polishing her tang blade. Inside it, 17 souls bound together. So if a weapon is lost, you can't use your spirit servant? Ning Fan pressed. Not exactly. At first, spirits cling to weapons. We borrow their power. But once you build true rapport, the weapon is only a medium. Any blade will do. Ning Fan nodded slowly. How do you obtain one? That I can't answer. Lin Chuan smiled faintly. Among wanderers we say, when fate arrives, a spirit will seek you. Ning Fan frowned. Fate? Too vague. Could it be linked to mental strength? Like sensing spirits when near death? You're overthinking. Huizi tapped the scars on his neck. First mission I nearly died, no spirit. Third mission one found me out of nowhere. So it truly was chance. Don't rush, kid. Survive the wilds and one day you'll have a spirit servant. Lin Chuan patted his shoulder. Now vote. Everyone's waiting. Ning Fan forced down his hunger for answers, focusing on the choice before him. His decision would shape the team's fate. He thought for half a minute, still silent. Brother Chuan, honestly, I think your logic is wrong. 6 heads turned. This boy had cursed him earlier. Now he questioned him again. Trying to seize command, kid? Huizi raised a brow. But Lin Chuan didn't bristle. Instead he tilted his head, intrigued. Smart boy. Tell me your reasoning. The group was back in the vehicle. Qing Bin's body lay behind them, abandoned in a pool of blood. Ning Fan sat quietly, his mind unsettled. He licked his lips, ignoring the doubtful stares of the others. Brother Chuan, let me ask, do you often run into people like Qing Bin? Lin Chuan grew more serious, fingers tugging at the messy stubble on his chin. Rarely. His brows knit. The wild dogs are known in this region. Poor but unyielding. Even if someone wants to play bandit, they usually aren't foolish enough to target us. Huizi chimed in proudly. Exactly. Robbing us isn't worth the risk. Ning Fan smiled faintly, then pressed on. So, don't you think he was strange? Starving ghosts will risk anything for food. What's strange about that? Qiao Fei cut in coldly. Ning Fan's voice dropped. Outside the walls, robbery is normal. But first, you need something worth stealing. The group's eyes sharpened. Qing Bin carried 16,000 sola when he joined us. Ning Fan frowned. Sister Fei, he didn't look like some starving ghost. To be blunt, he might have been richer than us. This time Qiao Fei didn't snap back. She fell into thought, realizing the weight of his words. So you mean? Lin Chuan's gaze shifted toward the vehicle. Ning Fan nodded. We need to know what we're really transporting. If the wild dogs were poor but formidable, then the target wasn't them, it was the cargo. The employer's goods aren't ours to open, Lin Chuan muttered. That's the rule. Brother Hui, Ning Fan pressed. Before we left, you said this mission was too simple. Yet they paid us at level 2 risk rates. Strange, isn't it? Huizi nodded, his eyes glinting with interest. This boy was sharp. He remembered details. And Qing Bin was waiting on the only road we could take. He knew our destination was F-27. If it wasn't an inside leak, then who gave him the information? Yang Beihai? Huizi shot to his feet, furious. That bald bastard dares play us? Quiet. Lin Chuan snapped. Your whining gives me a headache. Huizi glared but sat back down, breathing hard. Lin Chuan turned to Ning Fan. Go on. Brother Chuan, I see 2 possibilities. Ning Fan raised 2 fingers. First, the cargo is extremely valuable. More than we imagined. Risk level could be beyond level 3. Lin Chuan nodded thoughtfully. That was plausible. But I doubt it. If it were that precious, Yang Beihai wouldn't leak the news. It's his property. If stolen, he'd suffer more than us. Ning Fan tapped his fingers. Unless he colluded with F-27. But that's unlikely. Too risky. In the face of Sola, who trusts anyone. If Warbear took it and refused to share, what could Beihai do? He'd be guilty of betrayal himself. So I leaned toward the second possibility. Ning Fan's eyes narrowed toward the vehicle. The cargo is worthless. The group stared, confused. What do you mean? Then what are they stealing? What are we guarding? Huizi blurted. Lin Chuan silenced him with a glare, then looked back at Ning Fan. Worthless? Why would they strike if they knew it had no value? Brother, isn't that the same question I asked? Huizi muttered. Because Yang Beihai never intended for us to reach F-27. Ning Fan's words cut through the cave. He'll use every means to stop us. Silence fell. Firelight revealed grim faces. Beihai is targeting us. Lin Chuan's voice was low. But why? We've worked with him before. No grudges. Brother Chuan, if we die outside, does this mission count as failure for the wild dogs? Of course. Lin Chuan shot to his feet. I see it now. Some eyes lit with realization. Others remained blank. Beihai told the buyers the wild dogs would deliver. But if we fail, the cargo never arrives and it's no fault of his. He keeps it for himself. His fists clenched. The bastard wants to swallow it whole. Damn it. I've walked the night roads all my life and now someone dumps the blame on me. Ning Fan nodded. Exactly. That's why I said the cargo may be worthless. Because Beihai knows it will never reach F-27. Lin Chuan spun toward the vehicle. The others followed. They forced open the iron chest in the trunk. All eyes turned to Ning Fan. He had been right. But his face showed no triumph, only deep unease. For Beihai to dare this meant he was confident he could wipe out the wild dogs outside the walls. He knew their strength. And still he believed. Brother Chuan, let's go back. Huizi growled. Drag Beihai out and make him explain. Lin Chuan stared into the empty chest, his face colder than steel. Ning Fan knew he was furious. Lin Chuan lived by rules. And he despised those who broke them. Huizi's suggestion was the only option. The mission was already broken. But then, after 5 long minutes of silence, Lin Chuan turned to the group. His face was like dead water, unreadable. Rest half an hour. Regain your strength. Then we move forward. Ning Fan froze. It was now certain. The commission had been a trap set by Yang Beihai. Ahead lay an ambush. They knew nothing of the enemy's strength, yet the enemy knew theirs. In such a situation, shouldn't they retreat? Why step knowingly into the fire pit? What shocked Ning Fan even more was that the others only paused for a heartbeat before each found a corner, lay down and slept in their clothes. They were truly resting, conserving strength. Even Huizi, Qiao Fei and De Zhuang, the 3 who had opposed a head-on clash earlier, voiced no objection this time. Why? Ning Fan could not understand. Kid, if you've got questions, ask. Lin Chuan sat by the fire, eyes deep in the glow. Ning Fan stared at him, then finally asked, why? Lin Chuan thought for a moment, then said quietly, remember that broken wooden board Huizi sets up every day inside the district? At once Ning Fan pictured Huizi on his stone seat, the battered plank carved with wild dogs. For that. Lin Chuan lifted his head, gaze steady. The wild dog's name was built by the old generation. I've no right to stain it. Ning Fan felt he understood, and yet not fully. Yang Beihai has certainly betrayed us, Lin Chuan continued. But if we return to F-32 now, drag him out, what proof do we have? We left whole, we return whole. Only the cargo is gone. If Beihai denies it, what evidence can we show? Ning Fan understood. Catch the thief with the stolen goods. Catch him red-handed. Brother Chuan, you mean to capture Warbear's men alive, bring them back to confront Beihai? Ning Fan licked his dry lips. Lin Chuan nodded. We need to slap the evidence in his face, prove the wild dog's name is clean. The stain of betrayal, they could not bear it. Ning Fan was moved. This rough, careless man lived by principles. In the wild dogs, Lin Chuan might not be the strongest fighter, but he was the most respected. When he gave an order, everyone understood his meaning and none questioned it. That was a team. That was cohesion. They could joke and quarrel daily, but when the wild dog's name was at stake, it was sacred. Ning Fan admitted he had thought too simply of the word team. But Brother Chuan, we know nothing of Warbear, Ning Fan said, worry heavy in his voice. They're hidden, we're exposed. We're at a disadvantage. That's why we'll rely on you. Lin Chuan suddenly smiled. Me? Ning Fan pointed at himself, flushing. Brother Chuan, don't joke. I don't even have a spirit servant. Do you know why I took you in? Lin Chuan cut him off. Ning Fan thought, then gave a bitter smile. Surely not because of my grades? At this moment he truly believed his perfect scores meant little to Wanderers. You guessed right. That's exactly why. Ning Fan blinked. Your scores prove resilience. Out of all F-32, only you achieved 9 perfect marks. I don't believe in luck, I believe in effort. But more importantly, I've learned you've got a mind. Don't laugh. This den of mine is full of fighters, but brains? None. He glanced at Huizi with a smirk. Look at him. Fine in a fight. But if I let him plan strategy, I'd lose my last pair of shorts. Ning Fan ignored the jest, his face grave. Our team needs a thinker, Lin Chuan said. That's your gift. No spirit servant? No matter. Weak strength? No matter. We've got fists enough. He pulled a sheet of paper from his coat, spread it on the ground. Here's where we are. Ahead lies Ghost Mist Forest. A map. I'll tell you every member's strength. They rest for half an hour. You don't. When they wake, you'll give us a plan. Lin Chuan gave him the task without hesitation. Ning Fan was stunned. Brother Chuan, I'm just a newcomer. You'd entrust me with this. Everyone starts as a newcomer. You lack experience, I'll give you the chance to gain it. When you've enough, you'll give back. That's what a team is. Lin Chuan laughed lightly. Didn't the academy have strategy courses? You scored full marks. This suits you perfectly. But Ning Fan felt no ease. At the academy it was theory. If a plan failed, you tried again. Here 7 lives hung in the balance. No turning back. The weight pressed hard. A hand clapped his shoulder. He looked up into Lin Chuan's deep eyes. Kid, if you want to be a wanderer, learn to bear responsibility. I didn't bring you out here to sightsee. You must contribute. After explaining each member's abilities, Lin Chuan lay down to rest. By the fire, Ning Fan sat rigid, burden heavy on his shoulders. He fought to steady his trembling. After 3 long minutes of mental battle, he calmed. He bent over the map, studying it intently. And behind him, the black sword he carried trembled faintly. Meanwhile, within F-32's inner district, Ning Fan's home. His mother stirred, opening her eyes weakly. You're awake. A deep, magnetic voice filled the room. To purge your miasma, I used 2 full doses of special medicine. Her vision blurred, she could barely see the figure before her. Who are you? Her voice rasped. Fang Yen, don't tell me you've forgotten an old friend? The man chuckled. That would wound me. Her body stiffened. The silhouette sharpened. When she saw clearly, terror flooded her face. You remember now. The man's voice was soft. It's been a long time. She tried to speak, but then noticed behind him in the corner 2 figures lying still. Not figures. Corpses. One fat. One wearing glasses. Half an hour later, Ning Fan was still seated by the fire, staring blankly at the map. In the flickering glow, his face was taut with focus, oblivious to everything around him. Eat something. A roasted beef bone was thrust before him. Startled, Ning Fan looked up into a broad, honest face. Dezhuang. Don't eat too much shadowhound meat, the miasma content's too high. Dezhuang grinned. We're all gambling with our lives. Might as well eat something decent. This one's on me. Beef bone, food from the upper city. There wasn't much meat, but it was fragrant, wholesome. The aroma rising from the bone was leagues beyond shadowhound flesh. Just smelling it made Ning Fan's mouth flood with saliva. Yet what warmed him most wasn't the food. It was the sense that, from this moment, the wild dogs had begun to accept him. He was now one of their strays. Thanks. Ning Fan didn't hesitate. Dezhuang chuckled. No thanks in this den. When you've earned some sola, treat me instead. Deal. Dezhuang, I'll buy you beef. Satisfied, Dezhuang leaned closer, eyes on the map. Brother Chuan said you're making the plan? Ning Fan scratched his head. But I'm nervous. What's there to be nervous about? Dezhuang clapped his shoulder with a greasy hand. Brother Chuan says your brain works better than ours. We trust him, so we trust you. The encouragement only deepened Ning Fan's pressure. He noticed then that Dezhuang's left hand had only a thumb. The other 4 fingers had been severed clean. Ning Fan didn't ask. Didn't stare. It felt disrespectful. Soon the others had gathered, rested and ready. Well, kid. What have you got? Lin Chuan yawned, his relaxed state betraying no hint of the battle ahead. Brother Chuan, I've thought of 3 plans. You can choose. But Lin Chuan cut him off. Don't complicate it. Tell us the one you think best. Ning Fan frowned, hesitated, then steeled himself. His gaze shifted to Xiao Fei. Sister Fei, you're the only one with a 10-soul spirit servant. For this mission I'll build the plan around you. Xiao Fei paused in polishing her tang blade, then nodded coolly. Fine. Ghost Mist Forest. A gray hill loomed. A broad-faced man, cigar burning low between his teeth, squinted at the mist-shrouded woods below. Damn it, my eyes ache from staring. Why aren't those wild dogs here yet? This was Sun Wang, leader of War Bear. Brother, what if they took another route? A wiry man, monkey thin, asked cautiously. If they went through Snake Cave, we'll miss them. Sun Wang frowned, then shook his head. Unlikely. Yang Beihai said they're cautious. Snake Cave's risky. They'll take the safer path. But it's too slow. Monkey checked the time, sneering. Maybe they died on the way? That'd be best. Save us the trouble. Sun Wang snorted. But I doubt it. Beihai said they're tough. No beasts on this road strong enough to stop them. Monkey opened his mouth, but Sun Wang's eyes narrowed. They're here. Through the haze, a scrap metal vehicle rolled slowly forward. Sun Wang's eyes gleamed. He waved. Work time. 8 men rose behind him, moving to the hill's edge, eyes fixed on the car. See clearly? That's the one Beihai described? Don't hit the wrong target. Monkey squinted long. That's it. Green canopy, red wheels. Then what are you waiting for? Hit them. Sun Wang barked. Quick job, quick split. Then back to the women. At his words, a half-meter fireball streaked down the hill, blazing fast. Monkey bounded like his namesake, leaping tree to tree, closing on the vehicle. Sun Wang stripped off his leather jacket, baring his chest. Wild dogs. Dogs are still dogs. Bears are stronger. He charged, his men unleashing spirit servants in a storm of destruction. In moments, the vehicle was unrecognizable, blackened, smoke billowing. Under such assault, even gods inside would be ash. But when Monkey reached the car first, he froze. Brother. The number inside, it's wrong, he shouted from the branches. Sun Wang blinked. Then lightning cracked. Spirit servant, spark. From a distant tree, old Duan swung his staff, eyes cold. Monkey felt the crackle surround him. Ah! He convulsed, fell from the tree, landing at Sun Wang's feet. The War Bear crew stared. Monkey's teeth chattered as he forced the words out. Inside, only 1 corpse. Sun Wang's spine chilled. 1 hour earlier. I thought it through, Ning Fan said by the fire, scanning the group. We may not know War Bear's details. But they don't hold absolute advantage either. Lin Chuan's eyes lit, silent. At least they don't know we already expect their ambush. Ning Fan rubbed his chin, sinking into rhythm. From their perspective, how do they identify us? They can't stand in the road, that'd waste their advantage. And Ghost Mist Forest is thick with fog. Too far, they can't see our faces. So, Ning Fan pointed outside the cave. I think I understand why Yang Beihai prepared this car for us in advance. The car Yang Beihai had provided was a marker. War Bear relied on that vehicle to identify the wild dogs. My idea, Ning Fan said, is to use the car as bait, to draw them out. Once they attack it, we'll know their position. Then the situation flips in our favor. But who drives it? Huizi's face darkened. He had always been the one behind the wheel. No need for one of us. Ning Fan smiled faintly. Let's hope Qing Bin's corpse hasn't been eaten by beasts. Him. The suggestion stunned them. How does a dead man drive? It doesn't need a driver. Just find a straight road, wedge something against the accelerator. Qingbin's body is only there so they'll glimpse a figure inside. Ning Fan looked around nervously. Would they accept his plan? Hup, hup, hup. Lin Chuan grinned, applauding. Any objections? Not bad, Qiao Fei said coolly. But you said I'd be the core. What does that mean? Decapitation. Ning Fan's eyes gleamed. Brother Chuan's butcher is strong, but your flower dance faster. The moment Sun Wang realized the trap, a chill ran down his spine. A shadow streaked toward him at impossible speed. Spirit servant, Great Bear. He reacted instantly, summoning his servant. Hair sprouted thick across his chest, his face twisted monstrous, his massive frame swelling larger. The shadow flashed past. Sun Wang's bull-like eyes widened. A red line opened across his throat. Spread. Splatter. Blood mist sprayed as the shadow landed 10 meters away. Qiao Fei. Her 10-soul servant unleashed, her speed was beyond sight. Her face flushed crimson. Ning Fan had given her one task, the hardest of all. One chance. Fail and she'd be swallowed by the enemy. But she succeeded. Boom. Sun Wang's giant body crashed to the ground, dirt erupting. Warbear's men froze. Their ambush had turned. Monkey was down. Sun Wang was dead. 2 losses in seconds. Kill that bitch, someone roared, unleashing their servants at Qiao Fei. Spirit servant, shield. De Zhuang charged forward, arms raised. A transparent barrier shimmered before him. Warbear's attacks hammered it, cracking it like glass. De Zhuang's brows knotted, blood surging, but he did not yield, guarding the weakened Qiao Fei. Bastards! Let me see what Warbear of F-27 is worth. Dare block my path. Through the mist, Lin Chuan advanced, eyes blood-red, blade glowing crimson. Behind him came Ning Fan and Huizi. From the flank, another figure darted in, nearly as fast as Qiao Fei. Wang Yi. He leapt high, claws gleaming. Slash. One attacker's skull split silently under his strike. Huizi, guard our scholar. Lin Chuan barked, then charged into Warbear's ranks. Huizi smirked, itching for battle. Scholar, maybe I should join them? Ning Fan muttered, embarrassed. Everyone fought while he needed protection. You're precious, Huizi sneered, then sighed. Have to admit, your plan was good. Even before victory, the team saw Ning Fan's worth. Without him, they'd have blundered straight into Ghost Mist Forest. Fists against fists, bleeding for it. Now they fought smarter. Ning Fan clenched his fists, watching. He longed to fight beside them. But without a spirit servant, all he could offer was strategy. If he joined, he'd only drag them down. Something's off, Huizi muttered, scratching his head. Warbear, isn't that strong? Ning Fan had been brooding over when he'd gain a servant. But Huizi's words sparked unease. Yes. Wrong. The plan had worked. Their leader was slain. The battle tilted. But Warbear's strength was far below expectation. Not weak, but not enough. Not enough to annihilate the wild dogs. That was the problem. Even without Ning Fan's plan, the wild dogs might lose men, but not all. They could always escape. Yet Yang Beihai's scheme demanded total annihilation. Warbear couldn't do it. No. Huizi. There must be more. Ning Fan cried. Warbear is cannon fodder. Bait. Just like Qingbin. What? Huizi's face went pale. Across the field, old Duan leapt from a tree, moving to clear the battlefield. A white flash. He froze. A bloody hole opened in his brow. His eyes widened, bewildered. Thud. He collapsed, blood spreading across the ground. Lin Chuan mid-swing saw it. His face twisted. Old Duan. His eyes burned red, veins bulging on his neck. But before he could react, a low voice echoed. Spirit servant, light arrow. On a nearby slope, a young man stood, head wrapped in a scarf, a lollipop between his lips. His hands mimed a bow. A glowing arrow formed at the ring on his finger. Whistle. The arrow flew. Wang Yi fell. Lin Chuan's cry broke off abruptly. Wang Yi collapsed less than 5 meters away, blood flooding from his mouth, choking his throat. He stared up at Lin Chuan, lips parted as if he had countless words to say, yet not a single sound escaped. Lin Chuan's lips trembled, his eyes burning red. On the other side, Ning Fan shook uncontrollably. This was the world of wanderers. Old Duan. Wang Yi. Moments ago they had all been together. Laughing. Alive. Now they were gone. So suddenly. So easily. Wang Yi. Huizi roared, charging toward the hill. He had forgotten Lin Chuan's orders. All he wanted was revenge for his brother. On the slope the young man sneered, fingers raised. Another arrow of light formed. Whistle. Huizi twisted mid-sprint. Rip. The arrow pierced his shoulder. He tumbled, rolling through mud, blood mixing with dirt, his body battered and filthy. Lin Chuan saw him fall, and in that instant regained a sliver of cold clarity. His teeth clenched so hard they nearly shattered. Retreat. His roar cut through the chaos. Huizi lay on the ground, shouting back, "Brother Chuan, Wang Yi and old Duan are dead." "I damn well know." Lin Chuan sprinted to him, hauled him onto his shoulder, and ran without looking back out of the mist-shrouded forest. Qiao Fei and De Zhuang, faces twisted with grief, followed. As they passed the stunned Ning Fan, De Zhuang scooped him up. Wind lashed Ning Fan's face, stinging. Cradled in De Zhuang's arms, he turned to see Lin Chuan carrying Huizi. "Brother Chuan, we're just leaving?" His nose burned. He hadn't known Wang Yi or old Duan long, not even a full day. Yet the grief pressed heavy, suffocating. Lin Chuan's face was stone, but his eyes blazed with fire. He gave no answer. Another arrow streaked through the mist. De Zhuang staggered but kept running. At last they burst from Ghost Mist Forest, back to the cave where they had rested. The fire's warmth lingered faintly. But 2 were missing. Thud. Lin Chuan dropped Huizi to the ground. Qiao Fei pulled a rot-face frog gallstone from her coat and shoved it into Huizi's mouth. This time she asked for no payment. Huizi chewed, swallowed, and the bleeding slowed. Then he wept. His eyes swelled as he cried. "Lin Chuan. Damn you." No one expected it. Huizi, healed, turned on his captain. "You're the leader. Our brothers were killed and you ran." Lin Chuan said nothing. His gaze fell on De Zhuang. De Zhuang had set Ning Fan down. Ning Fan felt dampness on his clothes. He turned and saw blood pouring from De Zhuang's chest. Qiao Fei noticed too, fumbling for the last gallstone. But De Zhuang waved her off. "Don't waste it." He staggered to the wall, sat heavily and exhaled. Finally, "I can rest. I'm exhausted." Ning Fan stared frozen. De Zhuang grinned weakly. "Kid, you're small but heavier than you look." "Hit," Ning Fan stammered, teeth chattering. De Zhuang glanced at the wound, voice calm. "Huizi, don't blame the captain. No one could withstand that arrow. He was protecting us." "Ten-soul ranged strike from high ground," Qiao Fei murmured. "If we'd run slower, none of us would have made it." Huizi didn't apologize. He only cried harder. "De Zhuang, don't you dare. If you die, who do I repay my debt to?" He crawled closer, sobbing. "First mission you saved me, you lost 4 fingers for me. I never paid you back." De Zhuang chuckled. "And now you're vice captain. Makes this old man look bad." Huizi's tears and snot mixed as he knelt before him. "I'm begging you. Don't die. I'll kneel if I have to." De Zhuang laughed hoarsely, breath heavy. "I'm not your father. Why kneel to me? Father. If you live, I'll call you father every day." Huizi's voice cracked, shrill. "Forget it. I don't want a troublesome son like you." Gurgle. Blood spilled from De Zhuang's mouth, cutting off his joke. Huizi screamed, begging him not to die. "De Zhuang. I haven't bought you beef yet?" Ning Fan's tears streamed down his cheeks. He hadn't realized he was crying. He had thought only his mother's death could break him. Never imagined he'd weep for a man he'd known less than a day. The grief crushed him like a stone on his chest. Just an hour ago here in this cave, De Zhuang had handed him a beef bone. "Don't eat too much shadowhound meat. Too much miasma. We're all risking our lives. Eat something good. This one's on me. No thanks in this den. When you earn Sola, treat me instead. Brother Chuan says your brain works better than ours. We trust him, so we trust you." De Zhuang's eyelids drooped. At Ning Fan's words he forced them open. His eyes clouded, blood spilling, yet his lips curved faintly. "Kid, I like you." He tried to lift his arm but couldn't. He turned to Lin Chuan. "Brother Chuan, I'm done. No shield left, find another." His eyes closed, heavy, never to open again. Ning Fan's ears rang. Behind him the black sword trembled. Ning Fan clutched De Zhuang's fallen hand, feeling his blood surge violently. Splurt. A mouthful of blood spilled from his lips. Xiao Fei arched a brow, glanced at him, then looked away. He wasn't wounded, only consumed by rage and grief. Huizi was still crying. And Ning Fan too, tears flowing without him even realizing. "Spirit servant. How do you even obtain one?" Ning Fan whispered. Huizi looked at him through his tears. Suddenly, Ning Fan ripped the black sword free, bellowing with all his strength. "How the hell do you activate a spirit servant?" Lin Chuan's gaze was deep, unreadable. Ning Fan's nerves had snapped. "The wilds are full of wandering souls, aren't they? Then come to me. I'll take you in." His furious voice echoed through the cave. The black sword trembled faintly, but nothing more. Just as Huizi had said, the chance to gain a spirit servant was maddeningly elusive. Damn it all. Ning Fan hurled the sword against the wall. He was furious at himself. Why, when everyone else fought with their lives, did he need protection? He was one of the wild dogs too. This was his home. Everyone had their role. And him? "Kid, calm down. How can I?" Ning Fan broke down, sobbing. "You all said I was clever. You trusted me, let me make the plan. Every move was mine. And now 3 are dead. Old Duanwang, De Zhuang. They died because they trusted me. Who the hell am I? I've never even been outside before. Why trust me?" The guilt consumed him. If only he had foreseen that Warbear was a decoy, that a true assassin lay in wait. Maybe they wouldn't have died. The plan fooled even Warbear. "You couldn't have known. It's normal." Xiao Fei for once offered comfort. Everyone understood now. Warbear hadn't known the full scheme either. The archer had waited, letting Warbear die to draw the wild dog's focus. A cold-blooded assassin. Still, Ning Fan couldn't forgive himself. Strangely, Lin Chuan said nothing. Back in the cave, he sat at the entrance, silent, brooding. 20 minutes passed. When Ning Fan and Huizi had cried themselves empty, Lin Chuan finally rose, rekindled the dead fire. The others looked at him. He licked his dry lips, turned to Xiao Fei. "Watch them. Don't let them do anything stupid." Her eyes flickered. Lin Chuan pointed to the fire. "If it burns out and I'm not back, you're the new captain of the wild dogs." Then he turned and walked out. Huizi, exhausted from crying, forced himself upright. "Brother Chuan, where are you going? You cursed me earlier. Now I'm your brother again." Lin Chuan smiled faintly. Huizi wasn't in the mood for jokes. "I asked you, where the hell are you going?" The smile faded. "I'm the captain." His eyes reddened as he looked at De Zhuang's body. "I must protect the living. And avenge the dead." Huizi trembled, trying to rise. But Lin Chuan waved him down. "You're useless in this state. Stay alive. If I don't return, you avenge me." And he left without looking back. Ning Fan didn't understand. Since leaving the inner district, nothing made sense. Why walk into traps knowingly? Why face a seasoned assassin head-on? Why did wanderers, veterans of the wilds, think so recklessly? Lin Chuan's words echoed in his mind. If you want to be a wanderer, learn to bear responsibility. Ning Fan's chest felt heavy, suffocating. The cave was silent, save for the crackle of burning wood. Huizi had calmed, leaning against the wall, lost in thought. Qiao Fei rested with her tang blade across her lap, eyes closed. Ning Fan picked up the black sword again, waiting like a lover for a call, hoping for a sign. But the blade was still. No spirit servant came. The fire dwindled. Their hearts sank. Lin Chuan hadn't returned. Huizi lifted his head, tears falling again. This time calmer. He looked at Qiao Fei. Captain, what do we do now? Her eyes twitched. The fire hasn't died yet. Huizi rose, kicked the embers apart, sparks scattering. Now it has. They all knew waiting was pointless. Lin Chuan was gone. No more false hope. Qiao Fei studied Huizi, then turned to Ning Fan. What's your idea? Ning Fan flinched. His mind was chaos. Even if he had an idea, he dared not speak. A wrong word could mean death. Useless. Qiao Fei's voice was sharp, her beautiful face cold. I don't know why the captain valued you. Perfect scores mean nothing. One setback and you collapse. Ning Fan wanted to argue. One setback? 3 were dead. Lin Chuan's fate unknown. How can you be so indifferent? He demanded. What else? Qiao Fei's eyes narrowed. Should I cry like you too? Huizi frowned. Qiao Fei rose, blade in hand, her silhouette lit by dying sparks. One archer. One Yang Beihai. Those are our enemies. Her voice was ice. We know who they are. If we don't avenge them, hiding here weeping makes us trash. Huizi tore strips from his clothes, binding his wound. Who first? The archer's hard to catch. But Yang Beihai can't escape F-32. She turned to Ning Fan. Will you come? Yes. Ning Fan stood. At last he understood. All his months of preparation meant nothing compared to this single day. Now he knew what it meant to be a wanderer. To be a wild dog clawing from the bottom. Brother Chuan said the wild dog's name was forged by the old generation. If anyone tries to stain it, they'll fail. He slung the black sword across his back, stepped to Qiao Fei's side. Sister Fei, don't despise me. I swear, I'll grow stronger. Qiao Fei's face barely shifted. Then hurry. I don't babysit. 2 hours later. F-32 District. In the shadowed alley beside a 3-story building, Ning Fan spoke quietly to Qiao Fei and Huizi. We can't be sure yet if Yang Beihai knows we survived. The wild dogs had lost more than half their number, but Ning Fan knew this was no time to collapse. Lin Chuan had valued his mind. He had to do something for those who remained. Otherwise he would betray Lin Chuan's trust. Yang Beihai is a 3-star researcher at the F-32 Academy of Technology, Huizi said coldly. If he knows we're alive, he'll expect revenge. With his status, he can apply for level 2 protection. Then we act as if he already knows, Ning Fan replied firmly. Level 2 protection, you two handle the distraction. I'll kill him. On the way back, Ning Fan had learned something crucial. Inside the inner district, spirit servants were forbidden. An iron law. That explained why no one had ever mentioned them here. But for Ning Fan it was good news. He had no spirit servant. But that didn't mean he was helpless. Can you do it? Huizi asked, doubtful. Qiao Fei studied him, then said flatly, if you fail, you're out of the wild dogs. Fine. Ning Fan nodded hard. Night. Yang Beihai stepped out of his laboratory and immediately pulled out his phone. The signal was poor, limited to the district. Only the wealthy could afford the advanced models that worked in the wild. He saw a missed call and dialed back. Is it done? 3 got away, came the careless reply. Half the payment will do. Yang Beihai's face twisted, the phone creaking in his grip. Say that again? I said 3 escaped. I want half. You dare ask for money? Yang Beihai exploded. Didn't I tell you? Not a single wild dog must live. I even gave you bait. All you had to do was strike from the shadows, and you botched it. Silence. Then grudgingly, they were tough. Especially the captain. His decisions were too fast. If they'd hesitated half a minute, I'd have killed them all. The captain? Lin Chuan. I don't know his name. He'd already fled but then came back after me. Nearly killed me. And now. Yang Beihai's heart pounded. Pause. Then a laugh. I cut him down. Yang Beihai exhaled, slightly relieved, then snarled again. But you still let 3 escape. Enough. I'll settle for 30%. Yang Beihai was about to curse when the voice dropped, darker. Pay me or I'll kill you. I don't care if I use a spirit servant inside the district. Half the zones already want me dead. One more won't matter. Yang Beihai's fat trembled. He knew the man wasn't bluffing. This assassin was a lunatic. Fine. You'll have the money tonight. Can't you chase them? Kill them all, I'll pay full. Too much trouble. The man chuckled. But I'll give you a tip. On my way back I saw traces. Those 3 strays. They've returned to F-32. Yang Beihai's eyes widened. They're probably coming for you. Maybe they've figured out your little scheme. The line went dead. Yang Beihai's eyes burned with fury, but beneath it, panic. 3 dogs had returned. Who? Lin Chuan was dead. Who else? He was about to send word to the district guards when shouts rose from below. Fire! Fire! Yang Beihai flinched. People were rushing out of the building. What's going on? How did it catch fire? An older man stepped from his office. Yang, what are you doing here? Didn't you hear? Fire! Brother Qin. Yang Beihai grabbed his arm. I want level 2 protection. Level 2. Qin frowned. Trouble. Yes. Yang Beihai's face was pale. Someone wants me dead. I think they set this fire too. Who dares? Setting fire to the academy? Chen's temper flared. It's just some punks trying to squeeze me. Yang Beihai lied, choking on the words. Qin narrowed his eyes. Brother Qin, help me. Yang Beihai begged. Qin sighed. Fine. I'll approve it. But everyone's busy fighting the fire. I can spare 4 men to guard you. Good. Yang Beihai's relief was palpable. 4 guards would be enough. The wild dogs were exhausted. And inside the district, spirit servants were forbidden. Soon Chen's men escorted him out. Yang Beihai peered nervously around before stepping outside. Yang, why so tense? Who's after you? One guard joked. Yang Beihai ignored him. Take me to the executors. The executors kept order in the district. The wild dogs wouldn't dare strike there. Once safe, he'd hunt them down. But as they approached the car, a figure stepped from the alley. Flip, flip. Qiao Fei dragged her tang blade along the ground, sparks shrieking. Qiao. Qiao Fei. Yang Beihai recoiled like a startled animal. Her beautiful face was death itself to him. There. Stop her. Pretty little thing, one guard sneered, moving toward her, weapon drawn. Yang Beihai. Qiao Fei's voice was ice. Tonight you die. She blurred forward. The guards rushed to meet her. Don't all go. There are more. Yang Beihai screamed. And indeed, Huizi leapt from a second-floor balcony, eyes blazing, dagger in hand. Yang Beihai panicked, bolted back toward the academy. At the door he collided with someone. Out of my way, he snarled, shoving. But pain exploded in his gut. He looked down. A black sword had pierced his belly. You. He lifted his gaze to a young face. Ning Fan, cap pulled low, eyes cold as steel. The rookie. I bring you a message from Brother Chuan. Ning Fan ripped the blade free, then drove it in again. Whoever stains the wild dog's name must wash it clean with blood. He leaned close, voice a whisper of death. In your next life, don't provoke mad dogs. Thit. Ning Fan's eyes were cold, his movements mechanical as the black sword tore into Yang Beihai. The man's belly was nearly split open, blood gushing from his mouth as his hands clutched desperately at Ning Fan's shoulders. At last his strength failed. He slid down lifeless. Even in death, Yang Beihai could not comprehend why the one to kill him was the newcomer. He never realized that Qiao Fei and Huizi had appeared only to drive him back into the academy. He knew 3 wild dogs still lived. Only two had shown themselves. No matter where he fled, he would never be safe. Only inside the academy could he believe himself secure. Moments before death, he thought he glimpsed a man in a cap slipping in through the fire, but dismissed it. He had seen Ning Fan only once. He had never cared about Lin Chuan's stray pup. Ning Fan stared at the corpse, ensuring Yang Beihai was truly gone, then stepped over him. At the doorway he paused, a strange smile flickering across his face. Dead. Qiao Fei, still locked in combat with the guards, saw him emerge drenched in blood. Her eyes lit. Yes. Ning Fan nodded. Let's go. He sprinted into an alley. Qiao Fei and Huizi broke free of their opponents and fled in different directions. 20 minutes later, the three regrouped at their rendezvous. Are you sure he's dead? Dead beyond doubt, Ning Fan said quietly. I carved him open. Good. Qiao Fei's face showed no joy. Will you come with us or stay? Ning Fan's heart jolted. It was the choice he had always known would come. Qiao Fei and Huizi had revealed themselves at the academy gates. F-32 would never tolerate them now. Killing an ordinary man was one thing, but killing a level 3 researcher was another. Ning Fan had worn a cap. He was new to the wild dogs. Few even knew he existed. He had options, but the choice was heavy. The wild dog's vengeance was unfinished. He couldn't abandon them. Yet his mother was still in F-32. Kid, don't overthink it, Huizi said carelessly. Leave or stay, no one will blame you. If we finish the revenge, we'll tell you. Come on, Qiao Fei said, ignoring him, beckoning Huizi. Their figures were fading into the alley when Ning Fan shouted, I'll go with you. What? Huizi stared. Didn't you say you had family here? Yes. Ning Fan nodded. Once the revenge is done, I'll return. You're confident, Qiao Fei said, arms crossed. By the way, Ning Fan gave a bitter smile. I think I have a spirit servant now. Both froze. When? Huizi demanded, disbelief on his face. After killing Yang Beihai. Suddenly I felt it. Ning Fan's smile twisted. If only it had come sooner. Impossible. Qiao Fei frowned. Do you even know what a spirit servant is? You can't gain one inside the district. It was strange. Lin Chuan had said spirits were born of wandering souls. In the wild they were everywhere. But inside the district? Never. I don't know how, Ning Fan admitted. Want me to show you? No, Qiao Fei cut him off. There are monitors here. Use it and we'll be exposed. She studied him. You're certain you'll come? Yes. Fine. Once we're outside, show us your servant. All right. Ning Fan's decision was shaped by this new power. Without it, he would have felt like dead weight. But now he could fight beside them. Still time. Want to see your home? Huizi asked softly. Once we leave, who knows when you'll return? Ning Fan's chest tightened. He hadn't been home in days. He didn't know his mother's condition. He longed to see her. No, he forced a smile. If I go back, I won't leave again. As the three plotted their escape from F-32, at Ning Fan's home, his mother's bed was empty. Fresh white sheets covered it. Beside the bed sat a man with refined features. He wore a black robe embroidered with gold, polished high boots gleaming. His delicate hand held a handkerchief to his nose and mouth. How did she live in such filth for over a decade? He murmured, gazing out the window. The boy's mother is sick, yet he doesn't return. Always running wild. Ungrateful. Noise rose outside. Curious, the man rose, handkerchief draped over the door handle as he opened it. What's all the commotion? A richly dressed woman bowed. They say the academy caught fire. A researcher was killed. The man paused, then laughed. His smile dripped with disdain. Just a pack of sewer rats. Why fight to the death in their own nest? He stepped into the street. The woman hurried after him. My lord, shall we wait? No, his face twisted with disgust. I'm suffocating in this stench. Would you like me to refine this into a polished chapter draft with richer atmosphere and pacing, so it reads like a professional dystopian fantasy novel?